Right, let's get straight into it. My review of Revolver Super Deluxe by the Beatles, their new release, only been broken up 50 odd years. Keep pumping them out, keep making money. Anyways, so the remixes, Taxman's probably the highlight out of them. Because if you've heard the stereo version, sorry, I'm watching a Spanish football game on the telly at the same time as recording this, so I might get distracted every now and then. If you've heard, no, I'm coughing, this is going really badly. I'm trying to say, if you've heard the original stereo mix of Taxman on the CDs, if you've got the CDs, or on Spotify, it's unlistenable. The drums are like over here. George is all the way over here. It doesn't sound good at all, but with this, they put the vocals and the drums in the middle, the bass and the guitar slightly to the left and the right, and then John and Paul's harmonies far left and right, which I think works really well. Why it wasn't like this to begin with, well, in fact, the reason it wasn't like this to begin with is because the original Beatles albums in the 60s, the stereo mixes that came out in 2009 or whatever it was, were remasters of the 1966 stereo mixes, and in 1966, stereo, who gave a shit about stereo? No one. It was all about mono. Two speakers, what do you need two speakers for? So the stereo mixes were abysmal. Eleanor Rigby, an improvement, but not a lot to say on this. I'm Only Sleeping sounds really crisp, especially the reverse guitar solo. Love You Too sounds virtually the same as far as I can hear, same with Here, There and Everywhere. Yellow Submarine, you know, it's not blowing me mind. Same with She Said, Good Day Sunshine. In fact, all of them, apart from For No One, because the drums are a big improvement, because I never know there was even drums in it, because they were 95 miles off in another country, probably somewhere in Kerry, when you listen to it on the original stereo mix. So that's a big improvement. Dr. Robert, nothing to say. I want to tell you, is the fade in more clean, or am I just chatting shit at this point? Got to Get You Into My Life is a big improvement. It's the same as it was with Taxman. They've actually put everything into the middle rather than being 50 miles to your left and right like it was in the original. Tomorrow Never Knows, just generally crisper. Anyways, on to the actual new tracks. I say new tracks, they were recorded 58 years ago, 56 years ago, there we go. But these are quite good. Tomorrow Never Knows, as something to listen to, it's not that impressive when you've heard the original, but to think, as a historical thing, it's very impressive, because to think that they came off the back of Rubber Soul, they came back into the studio and they thought, right, this one first. This is what we're starting the new album with. This is the first track they recorded. That's quite fucking baffling. So for that reason, it's a very interesting listen. Got to Get You Into My Life, first version. I get these confused. Yeah, right, okay. I had to give it a little listen there, even though I gleaned nothing from that. So this is the same as what was on Anthology 2. Not as good as the final version. Some people really like it. It's definitely interesting. I like that I Need Your Love, I Need Your Love. I like that bit. I think they should have left that in, because that's a very good bridge. But overall, it's a bit sparse and a bit empty. Paul has a big row about fading in the organ at the start. And I don't know how he doesn't understand it, because this is Paul McCartney. Even I understand what they're trying to tell him. That they can just cut off the... It don't matter. It don't matter. Anyways, the second version has the Paperback Writer riff at the start. This is very good. It's got a great deal of energy. It sounds really nice. Love You Too. It's very interesting to hear. Just on his acoustic guitar, George had the idea for the whole song. He was singing the sitar riff on this acoustic demo, and it was originally called Granny Smith, which is a bit of an odd title, but I think it shows he didn't really have much confidence in his songs, because he was just giving them silly names. Paperback Writer is next after a couple more takes of Love You Too. Paperback Writer, it's just the instrumental. It's quite good, but it's just the instrumental of the actual take. But you know, it says takes 1 and 2 here. They got it in 2 takes. It's quite an hard piece of music. Now this is my favourite one on the whole album. Rain, Take 5, Actual Speed. The drumming and the bass, especially Ringo's fills, because he was just coming up with that as he was going along. He's not pre-planned that. It's fucking bonkers. He's such an underrated drummer. There's bits like proves how sick of a drummer he is, because he's making me sick too. Just the fills he's doing are crazy, and Paul McCartney's bass, he's like charging it up like some sort of ray gun, where he goes bong, 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 bong. Amazing. Just shines a new light on the song. Rain Take 5 slowed down, virtually the same as actual Rain you're hearing, but it's interesting to hear it directly after Rain in the actual speed. Dr. Robert, just another take of Dr. Robert, nothing really to do about that. Annual Birkin Sing first version, I love this. Better than the album version in my opinion, I really do like it. Especially at the end where all the instruments go out and you hear, don't get me, and then the bass and the guitar come, the guitar, the bass and the drums come in together playing the same thing. They should have kept that in because that was amazing. And obviously the giggling version, which is on Anthology 2, but now it doesn't have the guide vocal, it only has the giggling, and I love this, especially when I'm stoned, because when you're stoned with them, I assume they were stoned, I mean they must have fucking been. It makes me laugh. Just and uncontrollably smile listening to it. It's a lovely listen. Taxman Take 11, I'm fairly sure is virtually the same as the one off Anthology 2. I'm Only Sleeping with the Glockenspiel. It sounds like 70s detective show instrumental. It's very interesting that. It's not a product of its time at all. I'm Only Sleeping Take 2, same as Anthology. I'm Only Sleeping Take 5. It's Scar. They've predated Scar. It sounds like something the Specials or fucking Madness would have done. Very interesting. Eleanor Rigby, Speak Before Take 2. It's good to hear the other musicians speak, and Paul and George Martin speak with them, and it sort of gives you an idea of how important George Martin was, because he is talking with the musicians about, oh, should it have vibrato or not, and Paul can't hear the fucking difference. He can't tell the difference. So it shows how good, when Paul was trying to do his Baroque stuff and have his big bands in there, because his father was into all that musical stuff, it shows how important George Martin was in actually translating that, because Paul couldn't tell the difference. I've waffled a bit there. For No One, backing track. I would have loved more of For No One, more stuff with For No One, because I love that song. And this is take 10. There's 9 takes we've not heard. I want Ultra Deluxe. I want to hear every single take. I want a 4-day long album. Hours. 48 hours at least of Revolver stuff. I want to hear everything. But For No One, I would have liked to hear more. This is just the backing track, not very interesting. Yellow Submarine is a beautiful sequence, and it tells you all about John and Paul as writers, because you hear the first one and you've got John singing, in the place where I come from, no one cared, no one cared. It's quite a despair. It's a bit like Getting Better All the Time, couldn't get no worse, but that's reversed, because it started with John being all miserable and moody, and Paul's come and said, we all live in a yellow submarine, and then we got the song we all know and love. Well, I'm not a huge fan of it, but this has given me a new appreciation for it. And then you get to the actual one. Then you get the sound effects, the highlighted sound effects, which are very interesting to hear all that. And Ringo's poem at the start. Love it. I Want to Tell You. I mean, fuck me, is that all they put on here of I Want to Tell You? Take 4, which breaks down almost instantly, a bunch of speech. And you hear John at the start call it Granny Smith Part Friggin' 2. And then the other one says Laxton Supreme, which is another type of apple, which is a bit weird because they went on forming Apple Corp, so maybe the Beatles all loved apples, but it's, again, no one's really taking George seriously, which I think's a bit sad. But what's after that? Here, There and Everywhere, take 6. Love it. Just Paul at his tenderest. You feel he's singing right to you, a right stripped back version. The fact they could sing like that live is just incredible. She Said. Trousers are torn, no John being silly again. Classic Lennon. And then take 15 is just a backing tape, which is a bit of a naff ending really for this whole thing. But I suppose it's in the order it was recorded, so if that was the last thing recorded, that's where you're going to end on, obviously. And then the mono, I can't really comment on that. The only time I listen to the mono, I worked for Domino's Pizza as a delivery cyclist, and it's good to have the mono takes, because sometimes you need to have one earphone in. And when you need to have one earphone in and you're listening to the Beatles on stereo, you're listening to like just the drums and the bass, and it's like let's say it's paperback right, it'd be like writer, boom 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 boom, Du-du-du-du-du-du. Du-du-du. And it's unlistenable because you're not getting a song, you're getting half a song. But that's about it. That's all I've got to say on it. I hope I've been somewhat coherent in what I've said. Just a little video, no editing, just my thoughts on it. Hope it was somewhat entertaining and insightful. I even had a little Revolver look going on here from like a press conference thing. I might have an interesting video next week about the UK versus the US albums. I know I've not uploaded in years. But I just remembered I had the channel and I thought, why not? You know, I'm not doing nothing. Apart from I'm now in a decently successful indie group playing to crowds of upwards of 200. But you don't give a shit about that. You're for the Beatles. So I'll be back next week with UK versus US albums anyway. Have a lovely time.